How you doing? It's the Butcher here, and today I want to make a video discussing the Abattoir of the Year. I've touched on it in so many videos. I haven't gone exclusively into it, but every day there just seems to be something else that pops up with this event. Excuse me. Let me just do this. Apologies, one sec, just because I'm going to, in the background, kind of live com me doing a tier 20, or attempting to do a tier 20. I actually haven't beat it yet. Abattoir of Zir. But as I was saying, every day basically there's something new that comes up that's just absolutely ridiculous with this, and it is truly exposing like every problem that this game has to offer. And I'll get into what I mean. And one of the first things before I even jump in here, well, first of all, I need to use one of these because the way I have it set up, I don't have my resistance is maxed out. But you can see I'm actually going to switch all of these on because there was yet, if you've heard of snapshotting before, it's basically how when you enter a dungeon, the game takes the instance as you enter, and then you can change around your gear and whatnot to maximize that. So the most recent one was found is you can actually do this with Paragon nodes. So this Paragon node is specific for Barbarian, if I could find where I have it set up. Right here, you could see my current bonus is 84%. I think when I have the gear I'm actually using, so that's like Grandfather doesn't have it, this ring doesn't have it, Doombringer doesn't have it, Shaker doesn't have it. These pants I'm just switching for the Fury at the beginning, but those all don't have damage while berserking. So I think this drops down, I believe it's 59%. So I'm getting 25% more damage, and I'm able to keep that even with switching these other things off, which is so dumb. It's extremely dumb. The reason snapshotting exists in the first place is for certain skills, in particular like Whirlwind, for example. It'll take where you are at the beginning of your Whirlwind and allow you to snapshot that, so it'll allow you to use certain aspects and things like that. And it works, there's other skills like that too, but that's the main reason that snapshot exists in the game, and that's a mechanic. But the way it is now, it is so busted. And that's the first thing. I have a list over to the side here of things I want to talk about. So that's the first thing to mention. So just to show you what basically happened. So I'm going to enter this tier 20 and hop in. And you're going to see something else too that I'll get into because it's something else that's busted. I'm actually going to be using a controller for most of this. You'll be like, why? Well, because the best thing to do for Barb, even though I've tried other builds and tried to make them work, the best one is the Whirlwind into the Hoda. And it's a pain to do it on PC, so I use a controller because why not? Oh, I don't actually have Metamorphosis. But so what we're going to do is we're going to take, so I kind of screwed that up with the pants because I didn't put the right gear on. But we're going to put all this back on, and you're going to see, so if I don't finish in time, it's whatever. You're going to see this drop all the way back down to 59. Again, so that's 25% more damage. I'm actually keeping that damage. Believe it or not. So I'm keeping that damage even though I'm getting rid of all this gear. And now as I go in, like I said, I'm going to actually first have to put my other skill in. Like I said, I'm taking a lot of time explaining this. I'm actually going to switch to a controller because the best method to do this is to use a controller, and it's completely busted compared to using on keyboard. You got to hit like 7 different things. I don't feel like breaking my hand, so I'm not going to do that. So as you can see, I'm going to switch to the controller, and I'm going to do what a lot of people have been doing, and this is kind of use a Whirlwind, and you smack them. I probably won't beat this tier 20, especially because this is like the worst monster type. Again, it's an annoying thing. Some monster types are just so annoying. These are by far the most annoying, I think, with the blood boils that you have to destroy or else they become immune. But, so I'm sorry if my gameplay's not good. I'm like looking over at my other screen just to go over the list I have made here. But I did want to do a live com so I can show some of the problems off as they kind of come up. But yeah, I'm definitely not doing this. But the second thing I was going to say, so the monsters aren't actually harder. Like, as you can see here, I mean, I'm not even using Melted Heart of Sea Lake is a whole nother thing, and they've already, said that they're going to address that because you can become invincible. But all they basically did was they gave him a tiny bit more health, or a tiny bit more damage, excuse me, and a shit ton more health, excuse my language. Like, you can see the numbers I'm putting up, and obviously I'm not doing some, like my Tears of Blood isn't super high like other people's. But, yeah, so they just basically have a ton of health. They're basically sponges. until you get to the Blood Seekers. Most of these guys won't really kill you. Sometimes they can if you get like CC'd or whatnot. But they're basically just sponges that you just smash, or you ball lightning, or you twisting blades, or you poison shred, whatever, over and over and over again until they die because they have trillions of health. And to me, that is not very fun. So a problem that I think it exposed is that they don't really have a way. I don't know how to find that guy. They don't really have a way right now to actually make the game harder in a skillful way. To me, this isn't skillful. What this comes down to is you leveling up that Tears of Blood glyph, which we'll get to later, and then basically you doing enough damage to kill these absolute sponges of enemies. Like, there's not a lot of skill. You know, Rogue has always probably been the most skillful class. I know, like, Hoda Barb has never been the most, skillful build or class, but it's pretty much the same for all classes, where they're absolute sponges. You're not having to maneuver better. You're not having to plan your attacks better. You're not having to have better positioning, anything like that. They're just basically sponges that you just beat up on until they die, and then you move on to the next. So they don't. To me, that tells me they don't really have a way to make monsters more challenging in these dungeons. Something like, I know for bosses, the only one that I know, like Duriel, has mechanics, but he's such a joke, and the other ones have mechanics, but also just a joke. It doesn't really matter. Uber Lilith pre-nerf, now again it's a joke, but Uber Lilith pre-nerf had certain mechanics, and they don't have to be like one shot in dungeons, but they could be certain things where you could get skillful at it, and maybe, I don't know, like a way to, like if you evade an attack, a way to almost like counter or something like that. There has to be something in the game to actually make monsters and dungeons and content like this more difficult. I don't know why that always happens on a controller, sorry. Make it more difficult without just turning this, like, look at this. Like 600 million just sponges, just absorbing all the damage and whatnot. It's an absolute joke. And there's really no way that this has become skillful at all. If anything, it's quite the opposite. Like, I know there's some classes, like the Sork, the people playing at low life, they have to keep the barrier up and manage their cooldowns. There's certain things like that. Rogue, I've seen people push like 20 with it, and they're, playing pretty skillfully, but in the end, it really all comes down to the same thing. Once they get to these elites, they're just kind of sitting here face smashing them, and then, you get CC'd, so you got to go unstoppable, whatnot, and it's not exactly the most enjoyable thing in the world. So I would really like them to find a way to add some, kind of variety and some kind of, to show who's a real skillful player. I know we're getting leaderboards, but again, if there was a leaderboard for this, it would just basically come down to, for the most part, who had the highest Tears of Blood glyph, which isn't really skillful. It's just grinding, which I don't mind a grinding aspect to the game. It's an RPG, that has always been kind of a staple to this genre of games. But the way this is now, it's a joke. It's truly a joke. Next thing I want to talk about was, sorry, I'm looking over while I'm getting mauled by 7,000 enemies. And I hate playing on the controller, but I also don't feel like breaking my hand over and over again doing these. The next thing I want to talk about was Uber Uniques. So this is something that was so disappointing to me, because I grinded Duriel so much before this event to have all these Uber Uniques, and I thought that they would be, they would be able to be what pushed me to be able to higher tiers of this, because it was the best skin slot gear in the game and whatnot. Not really the case. The impact they have is honestly minuscule in a lot of cases in this. Like I said, it pretty much, most of it boils down to that Tears of Blood glyph. Not your, if you have a Shaco or if you have a grandfather or whatnot. And we're snapshotting those anyway. So, I mean, like I said, it just doesn't feel like Uber Uniques are that important. And that was really, I think, why people were so excited to grind Duriel when they announced this, was they were like, oh, I'm going to get the best gear. I'm going to have a reason for it. Like, using the best gear, it's going to be able to put me on top. I'm going to be able to, beat levels my friends aren't able to, because I've got a better, suit out character, whatnot. Not really the case. So this whole emphasis on Uber Uniques, right now, you basically, obviously they will make your character a little bit better for this, but right now you don't really have too much to use them for, quite honestly. I mean, tier 100s are a joke. The Abattoir 0 is more based on that that glyph than it is really your gear and just in general. If you get that glyph to level 200, you could probably use like item power 700 gear or something like that. I don't know, or at least for your weapons, because you're probably just doing so much more damage that way. But yeah, that was really disappointing to me, because I thought them adding in Uber Uniques and a way to grind them was great. But the problem now is there's not really any way to use these Uber Uniques. You know, there's just no, like, tier 100s are a joke whether you have them or not. And for this, it will, you know, help you somewhat, but not to the degree that I think chasing these Uber Uniques should, and give you that leg up, because, like I said, they're just sponges, and the only thing that's really going to help you is that Tears of Blood glyph. And that's going to bring me on to my next point, and I've kind of mentioned this with the snapshots, but the exploits, the amount of things that this thing came out with. These are snapshots included, but I give that it's kind of its own topic, because it's gotten so out of hand, and it's literally like ruining the game in my opinion, and it just needs to be addressed. And I don't think the answer is, I actually don't mind gear switching so much for like different scenarios. I actually think, you know, that's okay, but the snapshotting and just it being broken is not good for the game in any way, I don't think. But the other exploits, like when it first came out, they had the Sigil Powder exploit. They had the one where people were clearing it by summoning the Hydras, and they would count towards a progress bar for God knows what reason. But this thing has brought into light so many different exploits and just BS that's, you know, probably been in the game for however long, but this has just brought it to light. You know, particularly with the snapshotting and whatnot. You know, people have known about that, not to this degree, but it's completely out of control now, and it's basically ruined the game. But the other exploits as well, too, are a major problem. And if they do want these leaderboards, and this is kind of why I want to mention this point, it seems like, really, the information we have now, the leaderboards are like the main focus of Season 3. So if they really want those leaderboards to mean anything, you can't have all these exploits in the game that are just ruining it. And that also leads me back to probably some more skillful gameplay. I don't think it should be whoever has the highest whatever glyph, if they decide, I don't think they'll decide to do it again, but if they added another glyph like Tears of Blood in the next season, whoever is the highest one of that is going to be at the top of the leaderboard. Like, that's dumb. It should be skillful. That's the whole kind of point of leaderboards, and why people want to try to get better and grind for better, you know, scores or times or whatever it may be. But yeah, the exploits need to get fixed, because that'll ruin what I think is going to be their main focus for Season 3, and that would be basically catastrophic. So the next point I wanted to bring up was, as you can see, I'm running out of time here. I didn't do all that bad. I probably need to level up my Tears of glyph to beat a level 20, but I'm just kind of doing this in the background. Maybe let's see if I get better monsters. It's actually my first time attempting a 20. So, but anyway, the next thing I wanted to bring up was the class imbalance issues. So currently, the Barb is dominating, so far ahead of the other classes. Now, other classes have been able to figure out things to be able to complete tier 25, or at least Sork has, but those were the two best coming into the season. Druid can use Shred to get up to, I think they've beaten tier 24 solo, but that relies on you getting the Tears of Blood glyph super high, because it double dips it, which is, again, kind of another broken mechanic, but that's really the only reason it's able to do that. Rogue is able to get to like 20-ish with like Twisting Blades, and then Necromancer's kind of, I don't even know what Necromancer can get to. They could probably end up pushing 20 at some point, but this is truly highlighting the pretty severe class imbalance at the moment that we have in the game. And before, it wasn't really too much of an issue. We knew, you know, Barb and Sork were the best class. They were beating the content faster and, you know, doing all these things and whatnot. But every class could smash a tier 100 easily. No problem with not even the best builds. You know, the tier 100s were basically a joke. Lilith was a joke. Duriel was a joke. Everything was easy. And I was so excited for hard content. And then we got this. And it did highlight the issues they have with class imbalance. As you can see me going back from my snapshot here. I actually don't think I need this. Sorry, one sec. But it just highlighted the issue with class imbalance. And if you're going to add content like this, and I know like when they have the leaderboards, they're going to have it separated out by classes, which I think is good. But at the same time, when you have content like this, you want people to be able to push higher tiers. To have such severe class imbalance is really an issue in my opinion. Oops. Sorry, I literally just started doing this BS. Like I used to do one Snapchat, now I'm doing like four. But yeah, so that's something they gotta work on. You can't have like one class or two classes be so head and shoulders above the others, and the only way one of the other ones is able to compete is basically because of a glitch, And same thing with Rogue too, I guess, because of the Tybalt's Will combo points. That's probably why Necromancer is so far behind, because they don't have a game-breaking glitch and then in their builds. But yeah, it's not good for the game in my opinion, and I think you want a healthy balance. People prefer different characters or different classes, I should say. So I think you want a healthy balance with that, and that's something I think they really need to work on, because it's pretty bad this season which classes are on top. Next thing I want to talk about is the lack of rewards. So a lot of people have been saying, a lot of people have been saying, as I get this going, and I'm messing it all up. Like I said, I'm not used to this. But a lot of people have been saying like all gear should be 925. You should have a chance at Uber Uniques, and I agree with all that. Don't get me wrong. I think that's all good. Those are all good ideas, and I think that's something that probably should happen. Especially the Uber Uniques. I think it would have been a nice way. I've been saying this forever. Some other way to get them besides farming Duriel, which is mindless. I hate playing this goddamn controller. But I think the thing they really need, and this is kind of coming with leaderboards, I would have liked to see like cosmetic rewards, some way to show off that you beat the higher tiers. And the reason I'm going to go for a tier 20, and not even because I care about the titles that much, but that is literally the only thing that you can actually show off in game without having to like open up your challenge menu or something if you're on stream and actually show that you got the challenge for completing a tier 25. The best thing you can show off is, I believe it's a Zenith title. I forget if it's the prefix or suffix, but either way, it's like a Zenith title, and that's for beating a tier 20. And that's the only thing you get. So you don't get like back trophies or mounts or even a title for beating a tier 25, which is really hard and takes a ton of time, which we'll get to in a second. You get nothing for that. So I think I mainly want to hear people talk about the rewards. It mainly stems around how there should be Uber Uniques in here, and it should all be 925 and whatnot. And I do agree with that. But I think they need to incentivize people to do this, and it looks like they are starting to do it with the leaderboards, with like an outline around your character in the home screen. But I think there needs to be even more than that. You want to show off. The people that are doing this are, grinding. They want to show that they're the best, that, the people that are trying to be tier 25s and whatnot. So you should want to give people something that they can show off in game. I think it would have been very easy to give off back trophies. I think it would have been a very easy, simple, and great idea. And I think it would have made people happy. And then if you saw someone walking around with the tier 25 back trophy, well, maybe not after all these exploits, as more keep coming out, because it might turn into a joke somehow, but you'd be like, damn, that person, they were able to beat a tier 25. They must be, a god or a grinder in this case. Or with the leaderboards coming up, if you get top, 100, whatever it might be, you get like a special cosmetic, a special mount or something. And you're like, wow, this person's really good. And I think that's the people that are grinding for that. That's what they want to show off. Obviously some of them are posting it for content and whatnot. And, people see that content and they'll get it that way. But the majority of people, there's a lot more people that don't do content than do that are pushing this stuff. So I just think the reward system is completely broken, and the lack of it was really disappointing, because I thought they were going to come in with some form of just something better. Like, God, it was literally, it was less than the bare minimum. I don't even know what I can say. It was like there's truly nothing like to get. Like I said, you get one title, not even for beating the highest level, for beating the second, I guess, highest kind of tier. If you're talking about like tier 5 being up tier 1, 10, if that makes sense, like every 5 levels, because that's the way they have the challenges set up. But yeah, it doesn't make much sense. And again, with the leaderboard system, I know they're doing some stuff for that. I would like to see it be much more because I think giving people something to actually grind for and be able to show off in the game is what people want. So my last point here, as I'm doing better on this one. Like I said, that other monster type is so bad. But again, you can just see the gameplay. Look, smash, smash, and I wish this guy would come over so I could group them up and then smash them all at the same time. And they're just sponges, just taking millions upon millions upon millions upon trillions of damage. And like I said, the way I'm doing this because of all the exploits is like I'm on a controller, which I had never played this game on a controller before this. But I didn't feel like breaking my hand to do the best method and to try to just get it clear on tier 20. And like I said, I'm not going to grind out for tier 25 because there's no rewards for it. I've been having fun on Path of Exile, so I'm going to continue doing that. I'm not going to grind. I don't even think you can like possibly do it unless you have like, maybe with these snapshots, I don't know. Before it was like at least like a level 135 Tears of Blood glyph, I think, which is just absurd. So yeah, but the final point is that Tears of Blood glyph. So the way they went about this event was, extremely disappointing. So they made it basically all centered around this unique glyph. The problem with this is, one, this glyph that you worked hard to level up goes away at the end of the season. It's gone for good. Don't think it's coming back. If it's coming back in some form, I don't see why it would be leveled to the level you had it at. That doesn't really make any sense. So it's gone. What you worked for, what you grinded all these hours for in this thing is gone. Again, if you give a back trophy or like a cosmetic or something like that, you know, I know people won't care about that, but again, you could show it off. And guess what? It's not gone. It's there for the entire rest of the game. The entire rest of, as long as Diablo 4 is out, unless they change something without me knowing, you would be able to equip that back trophy. Let's say if you got it on the barb for a tier 25 clear, you'd be able to equip that at any time. You would have it forever. This glyph that you grinded for, it is gone at the end of the season. That was a major problem. The second major problem is a lot of people, it's very easy to get to level 100. So I know an absolute ton of people. I did all 5 classes mainly for content, but it didn't even take me that long because it's so easy to get to level 100 now. I know, you know, people with less time and whatnot don't play as much. It would be harder, but a lot of people had at least, you know, one alt, if not multiple alts. And the glyph does not go across characters, even though it is just for the season. So with how much XP, you can really, I was planning to try to play with all 5 characters and stream it and see what we could do with each build and what tweaks we had to make. I've had to completely can that, even though I made builds for all 5. I played some on Sork, and I've played the majority on Barb. I haven't even tried it with the other 3 classes because there's just no point because I'm not going to be able to level that thing up. But yeah, it doesn't go across characters in the season, which I think is a huge mistake. And I guess you could argue that, you know, some characters would be able to level it up easier than others. Well, that's, again, a problem with class imbalance. I don't think you should be penalizing people that want to play your game with different characters, because if this is the way stuff's going to be moving forward, then people aren't going to want to make alts. People are going to get to level 100, stop playing until, you know, whatever new content comes along that is actually, you know, worth it to them, and then just do that with their one character. Once they, you know, complete the highest challenge they want to do or get whatever they want to get or whatnot, they're done. Instead of, why don't just let people play with multiple characters and have fun? And like, I know some people are Barb mains or Sork mains or whatever. I like all the characters for, you know, their own unique reasons. So to me, that was super disappointing, and it really, I mean, it ruined it for basically every character but one, maybe 1.5, but basically every character but one is just useless for me now. So it's just dumb. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why didn't they just make it cross character? I don't know if it has to do with the coding or whatnot, but I'm not going to beat this one again. Like, I think I'm about to grind up the Tears of Blood glyph. But that was, again, a huge problem. And then with the Tears of Blood glyph, it was so circled. This event, this content was so geared around this glyph. And I kind of explained the problems with it going away, not going to other characters. But really the problem is, in my opinion, is it didn't reward you for being more skillful. It rewarded you for just grinding out this glyph XP, which at the beginning was utterly ridiculous. How they ever thought that would fly is literal insanity. But it just required you to keep grinding out this glyph. And like I said, I don't think I have enough damage at the moment to be able to do this. But I think if I get my glyph probably another like 5 levels or so, I think I get another boost to my rare nodes in the zone too. I'll probably be able to do this no problem, realistically. And that's not... I didn't get better at the game. I just grinded out this glyph. And I know I think there should be a certain grinding aspect. I don't think there should just be none. For example, your character, you have to grind. Granted, it's not a very long grind, but you have to grind them up to basically level 100. You can't really do this if you're not level 100. And granted, they may get into level 100 super easy, but you need to grind your character in that way. So I do think there should be some sort of grind, and some work you have to put in. But the way they have it now is it's all grind. There's no like give and take. So that's the real issue I have with it, and it relates back to a lot of the points and how they decided to like balance this thing and the choices they made. It just feels empty, as you can see. I almost got to the Bloodseekers there, and let's check out what my glyph's on as we wrap this video up. I know I've been ranting for a while now, but like I said, I made a little list here of things I want to go over. So my glyph is level... where'd you say? 26. If I get this thing 4 more levels to 30, I get the extra, the extra damage. I get the extra here. I do my snapshotting BS, whatever. I think I can do a 20, no problem. Maybe I'll even end up posting when I clear 20. But yeah, I mean, that's what it's turned into. And again, that's to get to level 30. It goes up to level 200. And granted, you don't need to get there, but like I said, probably not anymore with the new snapshotting stuff and whatnot. But you probably still have to get this thing to like, I'll be generous and say at least level 80, but I think it would probably be more like level 100 plus. I mean, definitely to level 50. I'm still missing out on, by not getting to 50, missing out on all these extra whatever nodes you get here. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And it's just the way they went about it. And this is kind of the purpose of this video. This is just brought to light the issues with Diablo 4, in my opinion. It has highlighted them to such a degree, the issues with things like the content in the game, how they're balancing it, and what they're adding, the lack of things to do, the lack of things to grind for. Just every issue this game has, I feel like has been turned up basically to 11 in the Abattoir of Zir. And it's just basically what it's done is just showcase the issues with Diablo 4, for lack of a better term. So I know I've rambled on for basically close to a half hour now, but I hope you guys did enjoy. I did want to mention just a couple of things before I wrap this up. One, happy holidays. I'm recording this right after Christmas, so happy holidays to everyone out there. And I did want to mention, so I haven't been actually playing a lot of Path of Exile lately. I've been streaming it, haven't really been making videos on it. But I do appreciate you guys that come by the live stream. It's great to have people in there. But I have been enjoying that content, so I did want to mention that for anyone that would enjoy that and want to stop by. And 2, I was thinking, I almost want to make a series where I try to push my characters. So it would have to be my rogue, my druid, and my necro as far as they can go without using the Tears of Blood glyph. So just don't put it in the board. Just use, the regular glyphs they have and see maybe how far I can push those characters doing that. I think that could be fun because I don't think anyone wants to see, I was able to beat tier 25 because I had a 200 level Tears of Blood. No, stupid, again. So if you would be interested in that, let me know. That's something fun I think I could do, potentially. So let me know about that. And like I said, if you want to hop by the streams, maybe I'll stream. If I do end up doing that, I'll probably end up streaming that as well too. So I hope you enjoyed the content. It's been The Butcher, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.